Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, so data management, best practices are essential or organization to effectively collect, store, analyze, and utilize data to support decision making and achieve their goals. So these practices encompass a range of strategies and techniques aimed at ensuring data quality, security, accessibility, and compliance with regulations. So we look into the data governance, no, data quality management, data security and privacy, data storage and accessibility, data life management, and so on. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My topic is all about technological integration in local governance. One of the primary ways in AI can benefit local government is through data-driven decision making. Utilizing all algorithms allows local governments to analyze vast amounts of data collected from various sources. This is useful for obtaining administrative records, public opinion, and more. The role of technology in democracy is growing in significance, with social media facilitating direct communication between voters and elected representatives, and specialized application being developed to report service interruptions and civil disturbances. However, numerous stakeholders are still inquiring what is the significance of technology in local government. So, why is technology so important in local government? Building a modern secure technology for your organization can be challenging. There's a risk that key stakeholders get left behind, that costs or deadlines overrun, or that user data isn't safeguarded during the migration process. It is critical to find a trusted experience provider with a history of successfully serving government clients. So there are three ways that technology can improve local government. First, easier communication. Changes in communication methods, technology has introduced new ways of communicating, such as email, instant messaging, video conferencing. These methods have made communication faster and more convenient, but they have also led to decrease in face-to-face communication. Next is improved efficiency and security. It increased efficiency, minimizes the waste of resources such as physical materials, energy, and time while accomplishing the desired output. Security systems offer several advantages. Firstly, they provide stable functioning and protection for organization, companies, offices, industry, and buildings. Secondly, they ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data in the era of digital transformation. Next is avoiding skill knowledge gaps while encouraging innovation. Skills gaps can have a severe impact on businesses, leading to higher employee turnover rate, productivity loss, lower quality of work, and etc. Therefore, it is essential to understand and identify the key reasons for the skills gap and then find the necessary solution to bridge it. So, implementing technological advancement in local government. So organizations in the private sector are constantly keeping up to date with the latest technology trends and digital innovation, arguably more so than the public sector. That said, some local authorities or individual departments with them are. So effectively, transitioning a local government's diverse, outdated system to a cutting edge and future-proof integrated system is a challenging endeavor. However, it yields significant benefits in terms of effectiveness and protection. Prioritizing the development of user-friendly web pages and applications that facilitate easy navigation and enable citizens to access information, request services, subscribe to alerts, and make bill payments is crucial for local governments. So, what are the benefits of following local government technology trends? First, easier communication between users, stakeholders, and local government departments. Second, improved efficiency and security. Next, reduces knowledge gaps in the workforce, encourages digital innovation, improves productivity, reduces costs in the long run, more informed decision making and forecasting. So, Data management. Data management is the process of ingesting, storing, organizing, and maintaining the data created and collected by an organization. Effective data management is crucial piece of deploying the IT systems that run business application and provide analytical information to help drive operational decision making and strategic planning by corporate executives, business managers, and other end users. So, data management best practices. First, make data governance and data quality top priorities. So, a strong data governance program is a critical component of effective data management strategies, especially in organizations with distributed data environments that include a diverse set of systems. A strong focus on data quality is also a must. In both cases, though IT and data management teams can't go it alone, business executives and users must be involved to make sure their data needs are met and data quality problems aren't perpetuated. The same applies to data modeling project. Next, be smart about deploying data management platforms. The multitude of databases and other data platforms that are available to use requires a careful approach when designing an architecture and evaluating and selecting technologies. IT and data manager must be sure the data management systems they implement are fit for the intended purpose and will deliver the data processing capabilities and analytics information required by an organization business operation. Next, be sure you can meet business and user needs now and in the future. So data environments aren't static. New data sources are added. Existing data sets change and business needs for data evolve. To keep up, data management must be able to adapt to changing requirements. For example, data teams need to work closely with end users in building and updating data pipelines. To ensure that they include all the required data on an ongoing basis, a data ops process might help. It's a collaborative approach to developing data systems and pipelines that derive from a combination of DevOps, agile software development, and lean manufacturing methodologies. Data ops bring together the data managers and users to automate workflows, improve communication, and accelerate data delivery. So, benefits of good data management. A well-executed data management strategy can benefit organization in various ways. It can help companies gain potential competitive advantages over their business rivals, both by improving operational effectiveness and enabling better decision making. Organizations with well managed data can become more agile, making it possible to spot market trends and move to take advantage of new business opportunities more quickly. So, next, effective data management can also help companies avoid data breaches, data collection, missteps, and other data security and privacy issues that could damage their reputation and unexpected cost and the illegal jeopardy. Ultimately, a solid approach to data management can provide better business performance by helping to improve business strategies and processes. So, utilizing technology for data management and transparency. Utilizing technology for data management and transparency in local government and regional administration involves leveraging data tools and platforms to efficiently collect, organize, analyze, and share data while ensuring openness and accessibility to the public. Here are the key components and consideration in this process. First is the centralized data repositories. Establish centralized repositories or databases to store various types of data relevant to local government functions. These repositories may include demographic information, infrastructure data, financial records, and other data sets. Centralization enhances data accessibility and reduces silos within different departments. Next is the data collection tools. Implement technology enabled tools for data collection, such as mobile applications, sensors, and geographic information systems. These tools facilitate real-time data capture, ensuring that information is current and accurate. Mobile data collection, for instance, allows field workers to input data directly into digital systems. So next, integration of systems. Integrate different systems and database within local government to ensure seamless data flow and avoid duplication of efforts. Data analytics for informed decision making. Implement data analytics tools to analyze large data sets and derive actionable insights. Data analytics helps local government officials make informed decisions, identify trends, and allocate resources more effectively. Open data platforms. Establish open data platforms that make non sensitive government data available to the public. Open data initiatives enhance transparency by allowing citizens, businesses, researchers, and developers to access, use, and analyze government datasets. These platforms contribute to accountability and foster innovation. Next is the data privacy and security measures. Implement robust data privacy and security measures to protect sensitive information. Encryption, access controls, and regulatory security audits are essential components to ensure that citizen data is safeguarded against unauthorized access or breaches. Public dashboard and reports. Develop public facing dashboards and reports that visualize key performance indicators, financial data, and other relevant information. These dashboards provide citizens with accessible and comprehensible insight into government activities, promoting transparency and accountability. Next is the citizen engagement through data. Utilize technology to engage citizens with government data, presenting information in an understandable format and encouraging public participation in data driven initiatives can enhance civic awareness and empower citizens to actively participate in decision making process. Real time reporting. Implement systems that allow for real time reporting or critical information, for instance, incidents, public service updates, or emergency situations can be reported and disseminated in real time, enabling prompt responses and keeping the public informed. Next is the training and capacity building. It is provide training and capacity building programs for local government staff to enhance their skill in data management, analysis, and reporting. This ensures that personnel equipped to leverage technology effective for transparent and data-driven governance. Utilizing technology for data management and transparency not only improves internal processes within local government, but also fosters a culture of openness and collaboration between the government and its constituents. Next is cybersecurity and data privacy. Cybersecurity or information security refers to the measures taken to protect a computer or computer system against unauthorized access from a hacker. A robust cybersecurity policy protects secure, critical, or sensitive data and prevents it from falling into the hands of malicious third parties. Baronis defines data privacy as a type of information security that deals with the proper handling of data concerning consent, notice, sensitivity, and regulatory concerns. On its most basic level, data privacy is the consumer's understanding of their rights as to how their personal information is collected, used, stored, and shared. The use of personal information must be explored to consumers in a simple and transparent manner, and in most cases, consumers must give their consent before their personal information is provided. So data privacy and cybersecurity in emerging urban areas and region. So privacy and are crucial not just in urbanized cities but also in developing cities and regions in the Philippines, as they significantly contribute to the nation's progress. First, sustainable development. Emerging urban areas and regions are fertile grounds for progress and originality, frequently depending on data centric approaches for advancement. Hence, the sustained success of the organization heavily relies on data privacy and cybersecurity. Implementation of privacy by design. The incorporation of privacy by design principles become crucial in these domains where technology developments are emerging. These regions have the chance to construct digital infrastructures that give priority to the data protection from the beginning. By adopting this proactive strategy, the likelihood of a data breach occurring can be significantly reduced, and in some cases, completely eliminated in recognized processes. Next is the regional cooperation. Enabling provinces to have more power requires local cooperation, which includes educational programs, assistance in reporting and dealing with cybersecurity incidents, and the promotion of a culture that values privacy. Next is the Republic Act 10175, an act defining cybercrime providing for the prevention, investigation, suppression, and the imposition of penalties therefore and for other purposes. Legislation Cybercrime Prevention Act. So, the Cybercrime Prevention Act, the primary legislation governing cybersecurity in the Philippines, is the Cybercrime Prevention Act, along with the implementing rules and regulation of the Republic Act Number 101-175, also referred to as the Cybercrime IRRs. The Cybercrime Prevention Act imposes penalties for cybercrimes offenses, which are categorized into three primary classifications: violations of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA, of computer data and systems, including unauthorized access, unauthorized interference, data tampering, cyber squatting, and other similar action. Computer related crimes, specifically computer related forgeries, fraud, and theft. Offenses relating to content such as cyber sex, cyber libel, and cyber child pornography as defined by the Anti-Child Pornography Act of 2009, Republic Act Number 9775, the Anti-Child Pornography Act. Next is the Anti-Child Pornography Act. The Anti-Child Pornography Act criminalizes various actions related to child pornography, which is defined as any depiction, whether visual, audio, or written, created using electronic, mechanical, digital, optical, magnetic, or other methods that involves a child participating in actual or simulated explicit sexual activities. Internet providers, or the ISPs, are required by law to promptly inform the Philippine National Police or the National Bureau of Investigation within 7 days of becoming aware that their servers or facilities are being used to perpetrate any type of child pornography. Likewise, internet content hosts are required to promptly notify the appropriate authorities of the existence of any type of child pornography, along with detailed information on the individual responsible for maintaining, hosting, distributing, or otherwise contributing to the specific IP address. Next is the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. In 2018, the Philippines ratified the Council of Europe Convention on the Cybercrime, often known as the Budapest Convention. This convention is the first of its kind addressing crimes perpetrated via the internet and other computer networks. The Budapest Convention addresses many offenses such as copyright, computer-related fraud, child pornography, and violation of network security, among other transgressions. Furthermore, It encompasses authorities and procedures that have an international and transnational nature, such as international collaboration, extradition, and mutual aid. Next, the Data Privacy Act of 2012, 10173, also known as Data Privacy Act, along the implementing rules and regulation of the Republic Act number 10173, the Privacy IRRs, as well as circulars and advisories issued by the National Privacy Commission, form the primary legislation governing data privacy and security in the Philippines. The Data Privacy Act generally forbids the processing of personal information without the explicit and documented consent of individual whose data is being processed. The legislation also specifies the entitlements of individuals whose data is being processed, such as being informed, having access, exerting control, transferring data, and receiving compensation from data controllers for any harm caused by unauthorized handling of personal information. Next is the Access Devices Regulation Act, known as Republic Act number 8484 as revised by Republic Act number 11449, outlines the specific behaviors that are forbidden and the corresponding penalties for action involving access device. An access device refers to cards such as credit, debit, or ATM. Yun yung mga ginagamit natin ngayon sa payroll or any institutions. Account number, equipment, or any other method that allows access to an account. It can be used to receive money, goods, services, or any other valuable item or to initiate a transfer of funds. Additionally, it necessitates the inclusion of essential disclosures when submitting credit card application. If credit card firms do not meet the disclosure standards, their authority to issue credit cards will be suspended or revoked, following proper notification and hearing. Next is the Electronic Commerce Act. The Electronic Commerce Act, Republic Act number 8792, governs the use of electronic data messages or electronic documents in both commercial and non-commercial activities. This includes transactions, contracts, exchanges, and information storage. The main objective of the Act is to guarantee the credibility and dependability of these electronic data messages of electronic documents. The Electronic Commerce Act establishes and outlines the consequences for the following action: unauthorized access, circumvention of security measures, or illegal copying, in, infractions of the Consumer Act of 1992, and breaches of the regulation outlined in the Electronic Commerce Act. Next is the Anti-Photo and Video Voyeurism Act. The Anti-Photo and Video Voyeurism Act of 2009, Republic Act number 99995, criminalizes the act of photo or video voyeurism, encompasses the following illegal action: capturing photographic or videographic documentation of a sexual act or comparable behavior, photographing an individual's intimate body parts without their consent, in situation when there is a justifiable anticipation or privacy, distributing, duplicating, disseminating, displaying, etc., the photograph or video recording of the sexual act or comparable behavior without consent, regardless of consent to capture the photograph or record the video. Next is the regulatory authority. Republic Act number 10844, otherwise known as the Department of Information and Communication Technology, or the DICT Act of 2015, which was signed into law on May 23, 2016. In accordance to the law, the Department of Information and Communication Technology shall be the primary policy, planning, coordinating, implementing, and administrative entity of the executive branch of the government that will plan, develop, and promote the ICT development agenda. Furthermore, the DICT was granted authority over all aspects of cybersecurity, encompassing tasks such as developing the National Cybersecurity Plan, creating the insert and promoting collaboration with other countries in gathering intelligence on cybersecurity issues. CICC. Under the DICT Act, the CICC has the following powers and functions. CICC stands for China International Capital Corporation. The CICC possesses the authorities and function outlined in the DICT Act. Under the DICT Act, the CICC has the following powers and functions. First, formulate a national cybersecurity plan. Next, extend immediate assistance to the suppression of real-time commission on cybercrime offenses through a computer emergency response team, or the CERT. Recommend the enactment of laws, issuances, measures, and policies. Monitor cybercrime cases and coordinate the preparation of measures to prevent and suppress cybercrime activities and perform all other matters related to cybercrime prevention and suppression. The DICT secretary is the chairperson of the China International Capital Corporation. Next is the NPC. The NPC was created under the Data Privacy Act. The NPC is mandated to administer and implement the provisions of Data Privacy Act. It has, among others, the following functions. It receives complaints and institute investigation in relation to the Data Privacy Act, facilitate or enable the settlement of complaints, issue cease and desist orders, monitor compliance of government agencies, and intrum- instrumentalize and coordinate these bodies, provide assistance on privacy or data protection, propose legislation or amendments to Philippine laws on privacy or data protection. The NPC also provides circular memos, advisory opinions that are included in the applicable regulation on privacy and data protection in the Philippines. So next is the BSP. According to the new Central Bank Act of 2019, Republic Act 7653, as amended by Republic Act number 11211, the Central Bank of the Philippines has the authority to oversee banks and regulate finance companies, non-bank financial institutions that perform quasi-banking functions, and institutions that perform similar function in accordance with the authority. The BSP issue regulatory directives such as the BSP Circular Number 982, enhanced guidelines on information security management, and revision to the Manual of Regulation for Banks and the Manual for Non-Bank Financial Institution, which covers topics such as technology, cyber risk reporting, and notification obligation. Additional governing bodies, additional pertinent authorities encompass the subsequent agencies. The Department of Justice of Cybercrime is responsible for investigating and prosecuting cybercrime. The Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, PNP-SCG, is responsible for law enforcement in cybercrime cases. The NBICCD is responsible for law enforcement in the field of cybercrime. Next is the regulatory authority guidance. The NCSP to 2022 um, refers to the comprehensive plan of action designed to improve the security and enhance cyber resilience of Philippine infrastructures and services. It is a top-down approach to cybersecurity that contains broad policy statement and establishes a set of national objectives and priorities that should be achieved within a specific time frame. There are the four key imperatives of the NCSP 2022. Protection of critical infrastructures, or the CII, protection of government networks, to ensure the readiness and protection of government infrastructures, protection of business and supply chains, to educate the business sector about cyber risks and promote the adoption of security measures to prevent, protect, respond to, and recover from attacks. Next is the protection of individuals. To increase individuals' knowledge of cyber dangers and promote safe practices among users, Given their vulnerability, it is imperative to embrace appropriate standards in cybersecurity. The NCSB incorporates the National Cybersecurity Strategy framework, which formalizes the adoption and execution of information security governance and risk management methodologies. The following elements are crucial to the major domains for the formulation of the government cybersecurity strategy: information security, application security, network security, internet security, and the CITO protection. Next is the NPC Breach Circular. In recent months, the National Privacy Commission has issued several circulars to further clarify and implement the Philippine Data Privacy Act of 2012 and its implementing rules and regulation, the DPA. Amongst the latest circulators, the following are discussed in this article. NPC Circular number 2201 issued on August 8, 22, which imposes penalties for infractions of the DPA and fixes the range of administrative fines. The NPC Circular number 2022-04 issued on December 5, 2022 is the registration of personal data processing system and data protection officer and notification on automated decision making. The NPC Data Breach Circular release NPC Circular 16-0 titled Personal Data Breach Management, referred as the NPC Data Breach Circular, which outlines the framework for managing personal data breaches and the method for notifying and meeting other requirements related to such breaches. According to the NPC Data Breach Circular, a Personal Information Controller or the PIC or Personal Information Processor or the PIP must establish a security incident management policy. These policies should outline the guidelines and methods for handling security and incidents, specifically personal data breaches. This includes the establishment of a data breach response team and adoption of security measure, personal data privacy rules, and an incident response method. Next is the NPC Privacy Toolkit. Encompasses the five fundamental principles of data privacy, which include accountability and compliance. DPO appointment, conduct of PIA, preparation of privacy management program, implementation of data privacy and protection measures, exercise of breach reporting procedures. Next are the other issuances. So the Supreme Court of the Philippines has issued the Rule on Cybercrime Warrants, often known as the Warrants Rule, which outlines four categories of cybercrime warrants. First is the warrant to disclose computer data or WDCD, warrant intercept computer data or the WICD. Third is the warrant to search, seize, and examine computer data or the WSECD, and warrant to examine computer data, which is the WECD. Law enforcement agencies submit application for these warrants to the authorized regional trial court that handles cybercrime crimes and according to the warrants rule. If someone or a service provider is located outside of the Philippines, any warrants or court procedures served on them must go through the Office of Cybercrime or the DOG. According to the DOG, Advisory Opinion Number 1, the Department of Justice states that this is not necessary for a law enforcement agency to conduct an investigation in order to initiate a criminal case connected to a breach of the Cybercrimes Prevention Acts. Additional investigative units or agencies in addition to the PNP, SCG, and NBICCD may also conduct investigation into cyber-related crimes or crimes committed using ICT. Cybersecurity Information Security Officer. The DPOs will be accountable for ensuring compliance by the PIC or PIP with the Data Privacy Act. Its IRR-related issuances of the National Privacy Commission and other applicable laws and regulation relating to data privacy and security. Next is the implementation of an information management system framework. In accordance with the NPC Privacy Toolkit, the NPC mandates that all PICs and PIP must perform an annual mandatory training on privacy and data protection rules throughout their whole agency or enterprise. First is the cybersecurity training and awareness. In accordance with the NPC Advisory Number 2017-03 Guidelines on Privacy Impact Assessment, the National Privacy Commission mandates all personal information controllers and personal information processors to perform a privacy impact assessment for any program, process, or measure that affects personal data within their organization. Next is the cybersecurity risk assessment. The PIA shall encompasses the following: a data inventory identifying, a systematic description of the processing operation anticipated and the purposes of the processing, including where applicable the legitimate interest pursued by the company, an assessment of the necessity and proportionality of the processing in relation to the purposes of the processing, and an assessment of the risk to the rights and freedoms of data subjects. Next is the vendor management. According to the Data Privacy Act, every personal information controller is accountable for the personal data it possesses or oversees, including the data that has been shared with a third party for processing, whether inside the country or outside, with the consideration for the cross-border agreements and collaboration. Next is the registration with authority. According to the Privacy Implementing Rules and Regulation, or the IRRs, and the National Privacy Commission, or the NPC, registration circular, a personal information controller or personal information processor must register with the NPC if it is handling personal data and conducting operation within the country under any of the specified circumstances. The PIC or the PIP employs at least 250 employees. The processing includes insensitive personal information of about 1,000 individuals. The PIC or PIP belongs to any of the industries or business sectors listed in the NPC registration circular subject on mandatory registration. So, appointment of security officer. The PIC or the PIP shall appoint an individual or individuals who will serve as a data protection officer or the DPO. These are the sector specific requirements. In financial services, digital asset exchange. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is presently examining the draft rules of digital asset exchange that were published in 2019. According to the proposed regulation, the digital asset exchange is required to implement a written cybersecurity policy, giving due consideration to the frequency, magnitude, and cost of cybersecurity incidents, inform investors about material cybersecurity risks and incidents in a timely manner, have processes in place to enable them to disclose prior to entering an initial transaction all material risks to their clients in a clear, fair, and not misleading manner. Next, conduct a detailed analysis of the risk in connection with its product services, as well as activities, and continually update this analysis and the resultant disclosures. Next is the BCM. According to BSP Circular Number 951 Guidelines on the Business Continuity Management, financial institution must implement a business continuity management structure consisting of 5 phases that form a continuous cycle. First, business impact analysis or risk assessment, strategy formulation, plan development, plan testing, and personal training and plan maintenance. And then the next one is the cyber risk reporting. Regarding event driven reports, regulated financial institution must inform the BSP as soon as they become aware of any of the following. So reportable major cyber-related incidents defined as all events which may seriously jeopardize the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of critical information data or systems of supervised financial institutions, and disruption of financial services and operation, including the disruption of critical operation, which lasts for more than 2 hours due to threats. Causes include fire, typhoon, and pandemics. Next is on the health. According to the Data Privacy Act, sensitive personal information include data pertaining to an individual's health, education, genetics, sexual life, and their past or present health records. Hence, the handling of such information is forbidden, except in the specific cases such as when the individual has granted consent, when the processing is mandated by current laws and regulation for the safeguarding of the life and well-being of individual or another person, and when the individual is unable to legally or physically provide consent prior to the processing, among other circumstances. Next is the telecommunication. The sector of transportation, electricity, water, health, emergency services, banking and finance, business processes, outsourcing, telecommunications, media, and government are classified as critical infrastructure and are obligated to adhere to information security standards mandated by the ICT. The ICT Memorandum Circular Number 005 establishes guidelines and regulation for the protection of critical information infrastructure, or the CII. In accordance with the National Cybersecurity Plan, or the NCSP, in addition to mandating adherence to global standards, the aforementioned Memorandum Circular necessitates that telecommunication operators and ISPs perform cyber hygiene practices on their networks. Next, employment. In NPC Advisory Opinion Number 2000-010, the NPC recognized that firms had an obligation to submit various reportorial papers to several regulatory organizations and bodies, such as the SEC, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and for publicly listed companies, the Philippine Stock Exchange. The Data Privacy Act permits to use of worker personal information for the purpose of fulfilling required reports that are mandated by law or regulation and are necessary to comply the company's legal obligations. Next, insurance. Insurance businesses and agents must comply with the Insurance Code of 1974, or the Presidential Decree Number 612, as revised by Republic Act 10607, and the Market Conduct Guidelines 2003 to safeguard their clients' personal information. The They are additionally forbidden from engaging in discussions, revealing, or otherwise employing such information with any individual external to the firm. The privacy policy statement should be unambiguous and readily available to these customer clients. According to the Bill of Rights of policyholders, insurance companies, intermediaries, and soliciting agents are prohibited from disclosing personal, financial, and other confidential information of policyholders without authorization unless permitted by law, regulation, or valid court government order. Next is the penalties. The Data Privacy Act establishes a comprehensive framework of sanctions, include both incarceration and monetary penalties for breaches of Data Privacy Act. The consequences for breaches of Data Privacy Act in connection with cybersecurity encompass the subsequent: the unauthorized processing of personal information shall be penalized by imprisonment ranging from 1 year to 3 years. Next, the unauthorized processing of sensitive information shall be penalized by imprisonment ranging from 3 years to 6 years, and fine for not less than 500,000 but not more than 4 million approximate. The processing of personal information for unauthorized purpose shall be penalized by imprisonment ranging from 1 year and 6 months to 5 years, and fine of not less than 500,000 but not more than 1 million. Next is the processing of sensitive Personal information for unauthorized purposes shall be penalized by imprisonment ranging from 2 years to 7 years and a fine of not less than 500,000 but not more than 2 million. Next, the penalty for unauthorized access of intentional breach consists of imprisonment ranging from 1 year to 3 years and a fine of not less than 500,000 but not more than 2 million. Cybercrime Prevention Act, the subsequent penal action outlines aforementioned legislation are regarded as violation and cybersecurity and are classified cybercrime offenses. Offenses against the CIA of computer data and systems are as follows. First is the illegal access. The access to the whole or any part of computer system without right. Illegal interception. The interception made by technical means without right of any non-public transmission of computer data to, from, or within a computer system, including the electromagnetic emissions from a computer data system carrying such as computer data. Next is the data interference. The intentional or reckless alteration, damaging, deletion, or deterioration of computer data, electronic document, or electronic data message without right, including the introduction or transmission of viruses. Next is the system interference. The intentional alteration of reckless hindering or interference without the functioning of a computer or computer network by inputting, transmitting, damaging, deleting, or deteriorating, altering, or suppressing computer data or program, electronic document, or electronic data message without right or authority, including the introduction of transmission of viruses. Next is the misuse of devices. The use, production, sale, procurement, importation, distribution, or otherwise making available without right. A device including computer program designed or adapted primarily for the purpose of committing any of the offenses under the Cybercrime Prevention Act. A computer password, access code, or similar data by which the whole any part of the computer system is capable of being accessed with intent that is be used for the purpose of committing any of offenses under Cybercrime Prevention Act. Next is the cyber squatting, the acquisition of a domain name over the internet in bad faith to profit, mislead, destroy reputation, and deprive others from registering the same is such domains such as similar, identical, or confusingly similar to an existing trademark, registered with the appropriate government agency at the time of the domain name registration, identical or any way similar with the name of person other than the registrant in case of a personal name, and acquired without right or with intellectual property interest in it. Next is the computer-related fraud. The input, alteration, or deletion or any computer data without right, resulting the inauthentic data with the intent that it be considered or acting upon for legal purposes as it were authentic regardless whether or not the data is directly readable and intelligible. Next is the computer-related identity thief. The intentional acquisition, use, misuse, transfer, process, possession, alteration, or deletion or identifying information belonging to other, whether natural or juridical without right, provided that if no damage has yet been caused, the penalty imposable shall be 1 degree lower. Cybersex. The willful engagement, maintenance, control, or operation, directly or indirectly, of any lascivious exhibition of sexual organs or sexual activity with the aid of computer system for favor or consideration. Child pornography, the unlawful or prohibited acts defined and punishable by Anti-Child Pornography Act committed through a computer system, provided that the penalty to be imposed shall be 1 degree higher than the provided for an Anti-Child Pornography Act. Next, unsolicited commercial communications, the transmission of commercial electronic communication with the use of computer system which seeks to advertise, sell, or offer for sale products and services are prohibited unless there is prior affirmative consent from the recipient. The primary intent of the communication is for service and or administrative announcement from the sender to its existing users, subscribers, or consumers. Next is the libel. The act of libel as defined in Article 355 of the Revised Penal Code, Republic Act number 3815 as modified, is considered unlawful or banned when perpetrated through a computer system or any other equivalent means that may be developed in the future. Other areas of interest, the notable incidents. As I read the book of Dean, Dr. Abanti et al., this is the 2016 Bangladesh bank robbery. A total of $81 million out of the $101 million that were successfully transferred were found to be linked to accounts in the Philippines. Malicious hackers illicitly transmitted bogus directives using the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial, or the SWIFT communication payment system to unlawfully transfer over $1 billion from the Bangladesh bank's account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York in 2019. A previous executive of the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, a Philippine financial institution where the funds were placed, was found guilty and given a prison sentence for engaging in money laundering. Next is the CII operators. As per DICT Memorandum Circular Number 005, government agency must follow the Code of Practice for Information Security Controls outlined in ISO IEC 27002. Additionally, all critical information infrastructure operators are required to comply with the Philippine National Standard, the PNS, on Information Security Management System, or ISMS ISO IEC 27001. The sector class CI2s, according to the ICT Memorandum Circular Number 00, are as follows: the government, transportation, land, sea, and air, energy, water, health, emergency services, banking and finance, business processes outsourcing, telecommunication, and media. Next is the cloud computing services. Cloud computing is a framework that allows for easy and widespread access to shared and full customizable computing resources such as network servers, storage, application, and services. The cloud model is characterized by five fundamental traits as outlined in the DICT Department Circular Number 2017-002. First is on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured services. And next is the digital service provider. As mentioned in, according to the Cybercrime Prevention Act, a service provider is defined as any public or private entity that provides to user of its service the ability to communicate by means of a computer system. Any other entity that processes or stores computer data on behalf of such communication service of users of such services. A legal basis under Data Privacy Act. According to the Data Privacy Act, personal information can only be processed under certain conditions. The data subject has given his or her consent. The processing of personal information is necessary and it is related to the fulfillment of contract with the data subject or in order to take steps at the request of the data subject prior to entering into a contract. Next is the processing. It's necessary for compliance with legal obligation to which the PIC is subject. The processing is necessary to protect vitality important interests of the data subject. The processing is also necessary in order to respond to a national emergency to comply with the requirements of public order and safety to fulfill functions of public authority, or the processing is necessary for the purposes of legitimate interest of the PIC or by a third party or a party to whom the data is disclosed. So, ensuring the security of digital systems. It is critical aspect of modern governance, particularly in the context of local government and regional administration. It involves implementing comprehensive measures to protect digital infrastructure, data, and sensitive information from unauthorized access, cyber threats, and potential breaches. So here are the key considerations in ensuring the security of digital systems. First is the access control and authentication. It implement robust access controls to restrict access to digital system based on roles and responsibilities. Next, encryption. Employ encryption techniques to secure data during transmission and storage. Encryption converts sensitive information into unreadable code, ensuring that even if an unauthorized access occurs, the data remains unintelligible without the appropriate description keys. Next, regular security audits and assessments. Conduct regular security audits and assessment to identify vulnerabilities in digital systems. Firewalls and intrusion detection system. Install firewalls to monitor and control network traffic, allowing only authorized communication. Intrusion detection system or IDS can alert administrators to suspicious activities or potential security breaches, enabling swift responses to mitigate risk. Patch management. Maintain up-to-date software and system patches to address known vulnerabilities. Regularly apply security updates and patches to operating systems, application, and other software components to protect against known exploits. Next, incident response and recovery plans. Develop and implement incident response and recovery plans to efficiently address security incidents. Next is the employee training and awareness. Conduct regular training sessions to educate employees on cybersecurity best practices. Employees should be aware of the importance of strong passwords, recognize phishing attempts, and other their role in maintaining the overall security posture of digital systems. Next is the endpoint security. Implement endpoint security measures to protect individual devices, including computers, mobile devices, and service. Endpoint protection solution can detect and respond to security threats on individual devices, preventing the spread of malware or unauthorized access. And also, data backups. Establish regular and secure data backup procedure to ensure the critical information can be recovered in the event of data loss or ransomware attacks. Backups should be stored securely and tested periodically to verify their integrity. Security policies and governance. Develop and enforce comprehensive security policies governing the use of digital systems. These policies should cover areas such as data handling, acceptable use, and security protocols. Regularly review and update these policies to adapt to evolving security threats. And collaboration with cybersecurity experts. Collaborate with cybersecurity expert or engage third-party security services to assess, enhance, and monitor the security posture of digital systems. External expertise can provide valuable insights and help ensure that security measures align with industry best practices. And lastly, compliance with regulation. Stay informed about comply with the relevant data protection and cybersecurity regulation. Understanding and adhering to legal requirements help ensure that digital systems meet industry standards for security and privacy. So safeguarding citizens' information. Ensuring robust data privacy standards is imperative in today's data-driven landscape, and it extends far beyond merely storing data securely. Here we delve into key best practices for safeguarding um, sensitive information and maintaining user trust. Um, Here are the best practices for safeguarding citizens' privacy and data rights. First is the data minimization. According to recent study by the IAPP and AY, 87% of organizations report that GDPR compliance has led to a focus on data minimization practices. Data minimization is a fundamental privacy principle that underpins responsible data handling. In this innovative approach, enterprises aim to collect and retain only the minimum amount of data necessary to achieve a specific predefined purposes, rather than amassing vast datasets that may contain unnecessary personal information. organizations focus on targeted and purpose-driven data collection. For example, a tax authority may limit data collection for a citizen's income and tax-related information, omitting the need for extensive financial history. Next, privacy by design frameworks. A recent study by the uh, Ponemon Institute found that organization with a privacy by design approach experiences 27% fewer data breaches compared to those that don't prioritize privacy during development. So privacy by design stands as visionary approach to data privacy, urging enterprises to weave privacy into the very fabric of their operation and services. This innovative framework encourages proactively embedding privacy consideration into the design and development of systems and processes, ensuring that data protection is not merely an afterthought but a fundamental component. In practical terms, this means that privacy is considered at every turn from the initial stages of conceiving a service or a system. For example, privacy features such as robust encryption, user consent mechanisms, and data minimization strategies are built into the platform's core architecture when designing a citizen-facing web portal. Next is the dynamic consent management. A 23 survey by Okta revealed that 74% of consumers want to be able to manage their privacy preferences easily, underlining the demand for dynamic consent solutions. Dynamic consent management platforms represent a groundbreaking approach to data privacy that empowers individuals with real-time control over their personal data usage. Citizens can provide or revoke consent for various data processing activities in these innovative systems as circumstances change. For instance, a citizen can grant consent for healthcare provider to access their medical records for a specific treatment, and later they can promptly revoke that consent once the treatment is completed. Next is the zero knowledge proofs. According to a 2024 Gartner report, 30% of large enterprises will leverage zero knowledge proofs for data security by 2025, showcasing the growing adoption of this technology. Um, Zero knowledge proof represent an ingenious cryptographic technique that plays a pivotal role in safeguarding sensitive data during transactions and interaction. This innovative approach allows two parties to verify the accuracy of information without the need of to disclose the actual data itself. In practical terms, it means that government entities can ascertain the validity of citizen data without the necessity of storing or exposing personal data details. Zero knowledge proofs thus offer a powerful means to enhance data privacy, reducing the risk associated with traditional data exchange while still facilitating trust and accuracy in government transaction. Next is the homomorphic encryption. The global homomorphic encryption market is expected to reach $1.2 billion by 2027, indicating a rising demand for privacy preserving data processing solution. Homomorphic encryption stands as a cutting-edge encryption method that finds critical application in securing citizen data while enabling data analysis and processing. This advanced technique allows computation to be performed on encrypted data without the need to decrypt it first, preserving privacy while extracting valuable insights. Homomorphic encryption is particularly invaluable when dealing with sensitive health or financial information where privacy is paramount. Next is the transparency and accountability through blockchain. So a 2024 study by the IDC predicts that government blockchain spending will reach $18.4 billion by 2027, highlighting the increasing adoption of blockchain for government data management. Blockchain technology is harnessed as an innovative solution to ensure transparency and accountability in government data handling. By implementing smart contracts and distributed ledger technology, governments can create immutable records of data access and usage. This transparency empowers citizens to audit who has accessed this data or for what purpose, instilling trust in government practices. For instance, in a public procurement process, blockchain can record each step of the process from vendor submissions to contract awardee, ensuring transparency and accountability. It also reduces the potential for fraud or corruption. Moreover, blockchain's decentralized nature means that data cannot be tampered with or deleted retroactively, enhancing the integrity or government records. Blockchain, as an innovative tool for data transparency, offers a robust solution to strengthen citizens' confidence in enterprise data management practices. Lastly, the data lifecycle management. Data lifecycle is a comprehensive and forward-thinking approach that governments that entire journey of data with an organization of government entity. The holistic strategy entails the systematic handling of data from its moment of creation through various strategies of storage, utilization, and sharing all the way to its eventual disposal or archiving. What makes DLM truly innovative? It is emphasis on integrating privacy consideration at every step of this data journey, ensuring that data privacy remains a paramount concern from the moment that data comes into existence to its ultimate deletion or archiving. For example, when enterprises collect citizen data for a specific purpose, DLM ensures that this data is stored securely and only for its intended purpose. Once the data is no longer needed, DLM protocols guide its responsible disposal, ensuring that it isn't retained infinite, indefinitely, thereby minimizing the risk of misuse of breaches. And that's end with my report. And thank you for listening.
Okay, so thank you so much. First, uh, data management, of course, best practices are essential for organizations to maximize the value of their data assets while mitigating risk and ensuring compliance, no, with regulations. So by implementing robust data governance frameworks, maintaining data quality, no, enhancing security and privacy measures, optimizing storage and accessibility, and managing the data lifecycle effectively, organizations can unlock the full potential of data to drive innovation, improve decision making, and achieve their strategic objectives. Okay, so I think that's it.